This talk was given by Roshi Rafe Martin, guiding teacher of the Endless Path Zendo, a lay Buddhist community in Rochester, New York. Join our practice, in person or online, at endlesspathzendo.org.
Today is Saturday, March 8th, 2025, and we'll resume working through or going through this new book I've been working on, A Zen Life as Pilgrimage, coming home to what Zen is really all about. One thing I'd like to mention to you is a book, if you're interested in the Gateless Barrier, the Mumonkan. There's a new, it's recently published. Norinaga Roshi, who was a Daitokuji, was a terrific 20th century teacher, and his Gateless Barrier, Mumonkan, has recently been published. They're really lovely talks. There's a tremendous human depth to what he has to say. So it's available at Amazon. And I think it was printed by the British Buddhist Association or Zen Buddhist Association. Anyway, it's a beautifully printed book, and it's a really, I think, a really worthwhile read. So if you're interested in the Gateless Barrier koans and a contemporary, very noted teacher's take on them, Rinzai teacher, I would recommend this book. Anyway, you can search it on your own and see what you think. So today we'll look at what will be, hopefully, the 5th chapter of this new book, Which is the Real Me? Case 35 of the Gateless Barrier. By the way, if you think this is just a Zen issue, we'll get into how it's obviously not. I recently looked at one of the great children's books we used to share with our kids. Now that we have a grandson, we're getting books together to send out to him. And it was Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Steig. If you don't know that children's book, oh my gosh, it's really quite profound and beautiful. Steig also did cartoons for The New Yorker. He was very gifted and sharp fellow with a strong history. Anyway, towards the end of that little picture book, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, Sylvester, who's been the donkey, he's a donkey, who discovers a magic pebble that fulfills all wishes. Well, to escape a lion, he wishes that he's a big boulder, a rock. Of course, that causes him to drop the pebble. As a rock, he can't hold the wishing pebble. And so now he's trapped as a rock. And his parents are searching for him. He's a rock out under the stars in the rain and the snow. And then his parents, who so sad, decide that they'll have a picnic. And they come to this rock, and they, put their picnic stuff on the rock, and they pick up this beautiful little pebble they find, and they put it on the rock. And Sylvester is just overjoyed. He's trying to so hard communicate with them as a rock. And then he doesn't realize they've placed the wishing pebble right on him as a rock. It's a billion in one chance. How a rock would get hold of a pebble to be able to make its wish. It's a billion in one chance. The Dharma, so profound, rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands and millions of kalpas. In any case, the chance has come, and he, just as a rock inside, he deeply, deeply wishes, I just wish, he says, I could be my own real self again, my own real self. And guess what happens? And the joy that emerges. In any case, here's our koan for today. Which is the real me? Wu-tsu. Wu-tsu was, the note is Wu-tsu Faien. Japanese is Goso. He died in 1104. He lived in the Sung period. He was the teacher of Wan Yu, the editor of the Blue Cliff Record, and Wu Men, compiler of the Gateless Barrier, was directly in his line several generations later. So, Wu-tsu asked a monk, the woman Qian and her spirit separated. Which is the true Qian? That's the whole koan. Which is the true Chen. The woman Chen and her spirit separated. Which is the true Chen? Now, background. The story of Chen appears in various Chinese books of ghost stories from that period. The Sung. Might have been even from the Tang. In any case, the story goes like this. This is all background to this basically one-line koan. In a place called Hanyang lived a man called Chang Qian, whose youngest daughter Chen was very beautiful and the pride of her father. He also had a handsome nephew named Wang Chao, and Chang Qian, as a joke, used to say that they would make a fine married couple. The two young people, however, took this jesting seriously and thought of themselves as engaged, being in love with each other. When Chen grew up, a man of rank asked for her in marriage. Her father decided to comply with the offer, and tragedy could not be avoided. Oops, hang on. Chen was deeply distressed, and Chao, angered and grieving, resolved to leave home and go to another province. The next day he got a boat ready for his journey, and after sunset, without bidding farewell to anyone, proceeded up the river. But in the middle of the night he was startled by a voice calling to him, "Wait, it's I," and he saw a girl running along the bank towards the boat. It was Chen. Chao was unspeakably delighted. Chen sprang into the boat, and the lovers found their way safely to the province of Chu. There they lived happily for 6 years. So this is the whole story behind this one-line koan, and had 2 children. Chen, however, could not forget her parents and often longed to see them again. So they decided to return and ask for her parents' forgiveness. When they arrived at the father's house, her husband went first into the house and apologized to the father for taking his daughter far away from her home and begged him to forgive them. "What's the meaning of all this?" exclaimed the father. "Who is this woman?" "Well, this is Chen," replied Chao. "Nonsense," said her father. "When you went away, Chen became ill and has been in bed for all these years. That's not Chen at all." Chao went back to the boat and brought Chen back to the house. Being told of this, the Chen, lying in bed, arose and went toward her, and the two became one. Chang said that after Chao had left, his daughter never spoke and lay there as if in a stupor. The spirit must have gone from the body. Chen said she hadn't known her body was in the house. When she felt Chao's love and saw him go, she had followed him as if in a dream, but after that remembered nothing. So again, the koan is Chen and her spirit separated. Which is the true Chen? Wu-men's commentary. If you realize the true one, then you'll know that emerging from one husk and entering another is like a traveler putting up at an inn. If this is not clear, don't rush about wildly. When you suddenly separate into earth, water, fire, and air, you'll be like a crab dropped into boiling water, struggling with your 7 arms and 8 legs. Don't say I didn't warn you. Wu-men's verse. The moon and clouds are ever the same, different from each other, the mountain and the valley. How wonderful, how blessed. Is this one? Is this two? The moon and the clouds are ever the same, different from each other, the mountain and the valley. How wonderful, how blessed. Is this one? Is this two? Now, you can easily find something of Wu-tsu, of his background, in the podcast Wu-tsu's Buffalo Passing Through the Window at the Endless Path Zendo website, or you can read about it in Aitken Roshi's comments on this case and on the one of the buffalo, which is case 38, in his book Gateless Barrier. So I won't go into it here except to say that Wu-tsu was a remarkably creative teacher, clearly and skillfully committed to helping his students complete their Zen pilgrimage of fully and maturely coming home to their real selves. Interestingly, he was a layman for some 35 years before he began formal practice, and so his teaching reflects a deep background of solid life experience. His koan of the true Chien shows this strength with some genius. It's particularly valuable for lay practitioners as it features ordinary people in a classically ordinary life mess. There are no monks, nuns, Zen teachers, students, Buddhas, or bodhisattvas here at all. Instead, we have a story in which a father insists that his daughter marry the man he chooses for her, and she, naturally enough, rebels to follow the promptings of her own heart. But this familiar mess soon opens into something even more fundamental. In opting for personal integrity over familial duty, the young woman in the story is divided in two. One version of Chien remains at home, unmoving, not speaking, essentially comatose. The other journeys out into fulfillment as a wife and mother. Yet in time, even she finds herself unsettled. Yearning for home and the father she abandoned, she seeks the chance to make peace. So, she and her husband and their children head back to apologize. And when the two Chiens meet, they become one. Zen master Wu-tsu uses what was essentially a popular ghost tale of his time, like a popular movie or novel today, to explore something truly intimate. He is turning us about to face us directly into the fundamental question of identity. Who am I? Isn't it this at the root of all that drives and bugs and puzzles and torments us? Beneath all such questions as why did I do that? Or why must I suffer this? Lies the most direct and challenging query of all. Who am I? We go about our day like leaves blown by the wind, but who is it all happening to? Who is doing it? Who is the victim? Who is in the driver's seat? Why don't we look into this from the start? Instead, a bit frightened by it, we tend to put it aside, or we hide from the challenge it presents, or we shrug our shoulders and decide it's unanswerable, or we allow the answer to settle into some vague, me, I'm doing it, that's who, or me is who it's happening to, who else could it be happening to? And use our personal history and psychology to shore up the painful reality of our own unexamined ruins. But maybe peace. Genuine peace, or at least a greater degree of it, lies in finally digging right down into this rooted question and finding out just who it is we're referring to and talking about when we say or think, I. This is not a philosophical entertainment, but a practical way of deprogramming our conditioning, of undoing a fatal hypnosis. To get us there, Wu-tsu simply says, the woman Chien and her spirit separated, and then straightforwardly asks, which is the true Chien? This hidden question, which we may spend years, endless energy, and countless tears avoiding, Wu-tsu shamelessly drops directly on our plate. Which, he asks, is the true Chien? Which is the true you? So this true me, is it the one scurrying off to buy that bag of kitty litter, or the one seated calmly in the zendo? Is the true me working late to make the extra buck, or the one cutting back to make more time for family and friends? Is the true me focused in zazen or daydreaming about vacation? Is it enjoying success or in despair over climate change? Might it be both or neither? Which, indeed, what is the real me? Thoughts of greed, anger, and ignorance pass through my mind every day. So many realms, so many beings, human, animal, hungry ghost, warring spirit, God, hell dweller, make me up. Which am I? Which is the true me of me? Is it the mind that knows joy and sorrow, has plans and dreams? Is it the body that cries ouch when stubbing a toe, feels the dentist's drill, eats and sleeps? What about death? What happens to the real me, the true me, myself and I, when death comes knocking? Where do I go? And why do I know so little about my life and death? How did I ever get into such a mess? And where and what is this I'm so concerned about anyway? How will we answer? If we say underneath it all, I'm the one who yearns for enlightenment and longs to save all beings, that's the true me, haven't we missed the reality of our common, everyday thoughts? If we say, okay, right, that must be the true me, it's who I actually am, haven't we ignored the reality of our deepest aspirations? And what about sounds, colors, tasting, feeling, thinking? Who's sensing all that? Leonard Cohen's song, In My Secret Life, from the album 10 New Songs, presents a verse to reckon with. I smile when I'm angry. I cheat and I lie. I do what I have to do to get by. But I know what is wrong, and I know what is right, and I die for the truth in my secret life. I die for the truth in my secret life, where nobody sees, where nobody knows. Most people present a very wonderful exterior, and inside there's rot. Leonard Cohen reverses it completely. I lie, I cheat, I smile when I'm angry, I fake it. But down at the root, I die for the truth in my secret life. Transmission 4 of the Denkoroku, record of the transmission of the light, says, Upagupta, the fourth ancestor, attended the Venerable Shanavasa for 3 years, then finally shaved his head and became a monk. Shanavasa asked him, has your body or mind left home? The master replied, truly, it is my body that has left home. Shanavasa said, what has the sublime truth of the Buddhas to do with body or mind? On hearing this, the master underwent great realization. If the essence is neither body or mind, what is it? Indeed, is there an essence, an essential, unchanging core, or is there only, now I'm 6 years old, now I'm 80, now I'm into stamp collecting, now I'm into collecting Buddhas, now I'm looking for a job, now I'm retired, now I'm crossing a river, now I'm flying in an airplane? Maybe we're drawn to Zen practice because we've glimpsed how impermanent and unreal our life can be, how dreamlike and inauthentic. One day we may call out, help! Buddhas, bodhisattvas, help me find reality and escape from the world of illusion, separation, greed, selfishness, stupidity, and change. Help me be whole. But what makes us unwhole? What is our problem? And again, if we're not already whole, can missing wholeness be acquired after the fact by putting fragmented pieces together? Humpty Dumpty suggests otherwise. In his award-winning book, The Snow Leopard, Zen teacher Peter Matheson writes of a visit to a Tibetan Lama whose hermitage in Dolpo, Nepal, was built on the side of a cliff. Realizing that the Lama's crippled arthritic legs made it impossible for him to ever leave his precarious temple, Matheson asked if he felt trapped there. The Lama burst into infectious laughter and without a trace of self-pity or bitterness, with arms thrown open wide, said, of course I'm happy here, especially when I have no choice. Matheson added that when he heard that, he felt like he'd been struck in the chest. It was exactly what his own Zen teacher, Soen Nakagawa Roshi, might have said. and he found himself spontaneously bowing, hands palm to palm, before this vivid expression of completely unaffected, genuine wholeness. Wu-men's commentary to the verse. If you realize the true one, then you'll know that emerging from one husk and entering another is like a traveler putting up at an inn. If this is not clear, don't rush about wildly. When you suddenly separate into earth, water, fire, and air, you'll be like a crab dropped into boiling water, struggling with your 7 arms and 8 legs. Don't say I didn't warn you. Wu-men is being encouraging. He says that if we can sort out the true Tien, death itself will be like emerging from one husk and entering another, like a traveler putting up at an inn. Quite a statement. But he adds that if it's not yet clear, we should stop, sit down, and look into it, for without such grounding, dying can be rough. Bob Dylan, in his homage to John Lennon in the song Roll On John from the album Tempest, concurs. This is from one of the verses. Your bones are weary. You're about to breathe your last. Lord, you know how hard that it can be. Your bones are weary. You're about to breathe your last. Lord, you know how hard that it can be. Wu-men joins that chorus, raising the awful specter of that helpless crab dropped into boiling water. In The Gateless Barrier, Wu-men will often say things like, it's all a puppet show, a silly play, a farce. Not here. Putting all levity aside, he's deadly serious. Don't say I didn't warn you. This is his version of grandmotherly kindness. He wants to cut through our habit of being evasive when facing facts. So he's grabbing us by the shoulders, shaking us, and speaking from the heart. Despite all our wishing and fantasizing, impermanence cannot be denied. Zen Master Dogen wrote that the sustained exertion of ongoing Zen practice, quote, is not something which people of the world naturally love and desire, yet it is the last refuge of all. The sustained exertion of ongoing Zen practice is not something which people of the world naturally love and desire, yet it is the last refuge of all. Indeed, it is often out of a wrenching awareness of our common plight that genuine practice begins. In some ways, our whole life is a preparation for the last breath. One thing we know, stressful as acknowledging it can be, is is that every hour that final breath is drawing closer. Tick, tock, tick. Wu-men is taking pains to remind us that the point of the Buddha's teaching is not pessimism or gloom, but help. Essentially, the reason that the Buddha taught was to help liberate suffering beings like us from our unconscious self-created anguish, the trauma arising from ignorance of our own nature. He didn't say, life is suffering, that's it, tough luck. Rather, the first noble truth he presented is that an unrealized, self-centered, immature life will necessarily be filled with anguish. This is not simply the Buddha's uniquely isolated understanding. Looking back on a near-suicidal reconnaissance mission he flew during World War II, French aviator and writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry wrote, "Human anguish is the product of the loss by man of his true identity. For want of knowing who I am suspended in anguish." Human anguish is the product of the loss by man of his true identity. For want of knowing who I am suspended in anguish. But that's from the book Flight to Arras, a very stunning piece about the reason one sacrifices for the welfare of the world, for higher goals. He really never thought he would survive that mission, and he in fact died on such a mission, even though the French government kept begging him to stop flying and just write, because he was a great writer and they saw him as a national treasure. Instead, he said, I'm a pilot and my job is to fly. In any case, realizing that we can go on from there and mature further from that not knowing changes everything. Remember, the Buddha emerged from 6 years of intense effort with a half smile on his lips. Wu-men is not talking about death alone. He's talking about coming alive. I find Wu-men's verse to this case one of the most beautiful in the entire Gateless Barrier. The moon and the clouds are ever the same, different from each other, the mountain and the valley. How wonderful. How blessed. Is this one? Is this two? The moon and the clouds are ever the same, different from each other, the mountain and the valley. How wonderful. How blessed. Is this one? Is this two? How could the bright moon and shifting clouds be the same? Aren't they different? What's he getting at? Different from each other, the mountain and valley is as essential as the preceding line about sameness. Actually, it's another way of saying the same thing. The moon and the clouds are ever the same, different from each other, the mountain and the valley. Because of sameness, there is difference. Because of difference, sameness. This is Prajna Paramita's highest perfect wisdom in a nutshell. How wonderful. How blessed. Wu-men is putting it directly before us. Despite all his warnings and threats, here's his conclusion. Isn't this life? Just as it is, with its countless challenges and difficulties, issues and responsibilities, terrific. Isn't it wonderful, blessed really, when we realize that the seemingly opposed perspectives of sameness and difference, emptiness and form are intimate. The Buddha's joyous realization that wonder of wonders, all beings are Buddha, includes you and me. Identity, not fragmentation, is our birthright. In truth, the story of the recovery of identity may be the core of all myth and folklore, is perhaps the central human story. Hide and seek is an old, old game, after all. And so, ta-da! The poor goose girl turns out to be the lost princess, and the humble pig keeper the missing prince. Rightfully returned to their thrones, the false usurper cast out, the long-suffering kingdom is restored to health. A poem by William Stafford, a story that could be true, goes like this. If you were exchanged in the cradle and your real mother died without ever telling the story, then no one knows your name, and somewhere in the world your father is lost and needs you, but you are far away. He can never find how true you are. How ready. When the great wind comes and the robberies of the rain, you stand on the corner, shivering. The people who go by, you wonder at their calm. They miss the whisper that runs any day in your mind. Who are you really, wanderer? And the answer you have to give, no matter how dark and cold the world around you is, maybe I'm a king. If you were exchanged in the cradle and your real mother died without ever telling the story, then no one knows your name. And somewhere in the world your father is lost and needs you, but you are far away. He can never find how true you are, how ready. When the great wind comes, and the robberies of the rain, You stand on the corner shivering. The people who go by, you wonder at their calm. They miss the whisper that runs any day in your mind. Who are you really, wanderer? And the answer you have to give, no matter how dark and cold the world around you is, maybe I'm a king. 1,000 years ago, Zen master Wu-tsu took up a popular tale of his time to tell a story that could be true, one whose truth can still grip us today. Sadly, its formative elements remain all too relevant. A young woman is split in two by the familiar societal conflicts of youth versus age, wealth and power versus true love, patriarchy versus an intimate heart. Wu-tsu takes up the story and by turning it into a koan, sets out to free us from our divided nature and awaken us to our innate wholeness. But Wu men, who put Wu-tsu's koan into his gateless barrier, and who adds to it by calling its truth wonderful and blessed, won't let us off the hook. After reassuring us with those beautiful lines of moon and clouds and wonderful and blessed, he pulls the rug out from under us one last time and asks, is this one? Is this two? The moon and the clouds are ever the same, different from each other, the mountain and the valley. How wonderful. How blessed. Is this one? Is this two? What do you think? Some 500 or 600 years after Wu Men, the Japanese Zen master Hakuin wrote the following verse on this koan. Wang-chu and a wife have returned by boat to see Chang'e. Chang's house is in an uproar, people rushing madly about. One Qian comes ashore, leading a little boy by the hand. Another Qian gussies up and dashes outside to greet her. A dark pearl in the red water, belching out a purplish mist. A gem is suddenly set out on a tray, ungettable, inescapable. Many people draw swords and stand poised upon the stairs. Chen's old father is clad in tattered, threadbare garments. Wang's mother has on a shabby skirt, many sizes too small. Everyone enjoys the rollicking at the autumn shrine festival. By nightfall, the befuddled celebrants are staggering around. Stirred by autumn breezes, bamboo leaves glitter in the sun. Under a new moon, dewdrops on the pines gleam like gems. One pilgrim, sad to find he's separated from his native land, remembers a beautiful lady he has never entirely forgotten. Wang-chu and wife have returned by boat to see Chang'e. Chang's house is in an uproar, people rushing madly about. One Qian comes ashore, leading a little boy by the hand. Another Qian gussies up and dashes outside to greet her. A dark pearl in the red water, belching out a purplish mist. A gem is suddenly set out on a tray, ungettable, inescapable. Many people draw swords and stand poised upon the stairs. Qian's old father is clad in tattered, threadbare garments. Wang's mother has on a shabby skirt, many sizes too small. Everyone enjoys the rollicking at the autumn shrine festival. By nightfall, the befuddled celebrants are staggering around. Stirred by autumn breezes, bamboo leaves glitter in the sun. Under a new moon, dewdrops on the pines gleam like gems. One pilgrim, sad to find he's separated from his native land, remembers a beautiful lady he has never entirely forgotten. That's from Complete Poison Blossoms from a Thicket of Thorn, the Zen Records of Hakuin Ikaku, translated by Norman Waddell. So, who is that beautiful lady? And who is that sad pilgrim separated from his native land who's never entirely forgotten her? and G. Where or what is his native land, anyway? We'll stop here and recite our great vows for all. The vows of a bodhisattva, terribly important in our time. The very core of, I think, the meaning of human life lies in the great vow of the bodhisattva. It's not simply a Buddhist thing. It's the vow to become a truly mature human being and live with some grace, compassion, and wisdom in a confusing, complex, and fragmented world. It's the vow of our innate wholeness, to be whole, just as we are in this world.